Okay, everyone, welcome to TME Podcast. I am your host. I am Miss Rhonda McAllister, and I have a special guest today, Mr. Liam Naden, and he's going to talk to us about being successful the right way by using our brain the right way, which we all want to know how to do right. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks, Rhonda. And how are you?
I'm great. One of my favorite topics is the mindset and how the mind works and how we make it better, our thought processes. So I'm really excited to have you here today.
Great.
So
Well,
tell us,
I'm excited to be here.
thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned in your introduction, I'm really focused on understanding our brain because for most of my life, I've been consumed by the question, how do we get what we do in our life? And more importantly, how can we create a life that we really want? In other words, how can we be successful? And I've studied this for many, many years, and I've had my own businesses for many years as well alongside that, and I've been really successful in business. But as I say, I've studied everything from religion, psychology, self-help, spirituality, all sorts of different things to try and understand how I could be the best version of myself that I could be. And that was all going pretty well. I turned into a multi-millionaire and was doing pretty well. But in my mid-40s, something happened that should never have happened, and that was I lost everything. I became homeless, and I had to move back in with my elderly mother and sleep on the sofa in her living room.
Okay.
So, that really sent my life in a different direction to understand. Well, I thought I knew about success. I thought I knew about goals, and as you mentioned, the word mindset, and about your thinking and all of these sorts of things. So if I knew all of this stuff, how could it have happened that I lost everything? So that really sent me in a new direction to start to understand in quite a different way that we are actually programmed for success, but it's not in the way that most of us have been taught. Most of us have been taught it's about our thoughts and setting goals and all of those things, but they didn't help me out particularly. But when I tried a new approach, which was understanding how our brain works, I got much better results. And that's really the focus of what I do now, is helping other people to understand how to use this machine we've all been given that is designed to give us a great life. How do we use it in the right way? So that's me.
So, and I've heard different speakers talk about training your brain, right? With your thought process and really how you think about things make a difference. So, what is how do you, your idea about that?
Sure. Well, basically, I think if you take things back to the real basics about who we are and how we operate, we might have all sorts of different ideas about who we are, but we can all agree on one thing, and that is we operate in a physical, biological world. You know, we're part of nature. We have a physical body, and there are certain laws that govern nature. For instance, one is gravity. I mean, you know that if you walk out off a cliff, you're going to go down, and it doesn't matter what you're thinking and how positive you are and what beliefs you might have, you are going to go down because it's one of the laws of nature. Well, one of the other laws of nature that governs every single biological living thing on this planet is what I call the law of thriving. And what the law of thriving means that everything is biologically wired, programmed, and designed to strive to survive by being the best that it can be. So everything is wired for survival. And the way it's best able to survive is by being the best that it can be. Now, if you translate that into human terms, we have exactly the same, we're governed by exactly the same law as the rest of nature. Our biology, our physiology is wired and designed to make us the best that we can be so that we have the greatest chance of survival. But for humans, that also means being our happiest. That means being the best that we can be mentally and emotionally, not just physically. So our purpose in life, if you like, is to be happy. It's to be the best that we can be so that we have the greatest chance for survival. And nature has also provided every living thing with a mechanism or a machine, if you like, to allow that to happen. And what is that? it's a brain. Every living thing has a brain. There's a couple of
Mm-hmm.
exceptions, but basically every living thing has a brain. Its sole purpose is to ensure that you survive and are the best that you can be. So if you think about that in human terms, how many people are the best that they can be? What percentage? They reckon it's about 2%, because what is the best you can be? It means being creative and doing all wonderful things with your life and being happy and being grateful and loving. Not many people are like that. And that really puzzled me, because if you look at the rest of nature, you'll see that most of nature is successful. If you look at a living anything, whether it's a tree, a plant, an animal, or an insect, it's busy doing it, playing its role in nature, being the best that it can be, and functioning perfectly. We're the only ones that have problems, human beings. 98% of us do. So what's the only conclusion you can come to? The machine that we've all been given, we're using it the wrong way, because it is just a machine. It's designed, as I said, to make you to be the best that you can be. So if that's not happening, you're using it the wrong way, because your brain is like a motor car. A car is another machine. It has a very specific purpose, which is to get you from where you are to where you want to go. And you know it's going to do that. It's going to do it predictably, safely, and enjoyably, and comfortably for you. And you know that if you drive it the right way and you put the right fuel in, it's going to do its job. It's guaranteed.
That's correct.
So human brain is the same. That if you use it the right way, it will do its job, which is biologically to make sure that you're the best that you can be. But you have to use it the right way, because just like driving a car, if you don't know how to drive a car, you're not going to get anywhere. And you're going to have a rough ride. You're probably going to damage the car. You're going to have all these problems and stresses and worries about isn't this car working right? Why am I not getting anywhere? And you might have your foot on the accelerator and the handbrake full on at the same time, because you don't know how it works. You don't know that's the wrong way to try and drive it. So you're going to put in all of this effort and struggle and strain and trying to figure everything out, when it's just as simple as saying, well, I'm just driving the car the wrong way. I need to learn how to drive it. And it turns out it is exactly the same with the human brain. If you know how to drive it, if you know how the machine works, it will do its job. It will give you the life that you're designed to have, being the best that you can be. So my mission really is to help people understand. And the great thing is, it's not that complicated, and it's nothing to do with positive thinking. It's nothing to do with spending years doing meditation and doing affirmations and reprogramming your subconscious mind. I used to think that's what it was, and I spent years, decades doing all of that, but I still ended up losing everything. And the other thing that happened to me was I had lots of stress and problems in my life, so that even though I was successful, I didn't feel happy much of the time. I always felt stressed. And we've all been taught to believe that stress and problems and struggle and overcoming obstacles, we've all been taught that's a natural part of life. But it's not. It's not anywhere else in nature. You know, if you look at the rest of nature, there's life and death, growth and decay, but these are cycles of nature. There's no real struggle. So these are things we have to unlearn. And when we understand how our brain works, we realize that problems, and I know this all sounds wacky stuff, but when you start, and I can give an explanation how the brain actually works in quite simple terms, which is the beauty of it as well. This isn't complicated to learn. Anyone can do it, because we've all been given a brain, and it's designed that we can use it naturally. We don't have to spend a long time learning how to use it, but we have to unlearn what we've learned wrongly about how to use it, if you know what I mean.
You know, I'm a person, I like steps in order, right? So if you had to give me just a couple of steps, or maybe something that I was doing incorrectly and not using my brain to its full capacity, like what would it be? Like, you get up in the morning, you should, or whatever. What would you like, what is a couple of steps?
Can I just answer your question by asking you a question? If somebody came, if you didn't know, if somebody came to you, imagine somebody from the jungle who'd never seen a car before, came out of the bush and said to you, "What's that?" And you said, "It's a car." And they said, "What does that do?" And you said, "Well, it's a machine that'll take you anywhere you want to go. It can take you 100 miles down the road to the next village if you want, really easily. And that's what it's designed to do in a really comfortable way and really quickly as well. And they go, wow, okay, well, I'll jump in and what's 2 things I need to know to get in and get it there over the hill? You'd say, look, it's not quite that simple. There's maybe 3 or 4 things you need to know, but you need to understand how it works for a start. You need to know what all the levers do. Now, there aren't many of them. There's a handbrake and a foot brake and a steering wheel and a gear lever. That's about it. But if they said to you, oh yeah, okay, I'll learn all that later. Just tell me 2 things now to get me over the 100 miles by tomorrow. Say, it doesn't work that way. But if you're prepared to put in a little bit of time and understand it, it will do it perfectly. So it's not really a quick fix. And in fact, looking for quick fixes, and I'm not pointing at you, it's just that this is what everybody wants to know.
Right.
If you want a quick fix, that's a sign you're using the brain the wrong way, because your brain does not operate on quick fixes. There are no quick fixes. But I'll give you a really simple explanation, which is about 5 points and then 2 things to do. And you'll see exactly what the 2 things are you need to do.
Excellent.
Just by understanding how it works. So essentially, and I could bring in all sorts of technical scientific words and descriptions of the different parts of your brain and how it all works. But that's not really helpful, from a quick understanding point of view. So I've created a model which is based on science. This is all based on how physically your brain actually works, but it doesn't contain all the technical jargon, although I can throw it in if anyone would like it. But essentially you have 4 parts to your brain. And these are all separate physical locations inside your head. They all perform different functions. The first part is what I call your thinking brain, which is what you think with. And this gathers information from really all of your environment in every second of your life and stores it in a big library in this part of your brain. So this is like a database or a library of everything you know, everything you've learned. Okay. That's your thinking brain. The second part of your brain is your emotional brain, your feeling brain. And this is responsible for creating your feelings it actually creates chemicals that we call them hormones or neurotransmitters, and it makes you feel a certain way. The third part of your brain is your survival brain. And your survival brain looks after everything about keeping you alive on a moment-by-moment basis. So it does all the automatic things like keeping you breathing, your heart rate, your organs, all the automatic functions. But there's one other thing your survival brain does, because remember, it's about keeping you alive. And that is, every now and then, something is going to come into your environment that might be an immediate threat to your survival. It might be something that could physically hurt you. So if you go back to caveman times, it could be a lion jumping out from behind a rock. Or maybe in today, somebody might raise their arm at you and threaten to hit you. And what do you do in that situation? What does your brain actually do? It sends you a signal that makes you feel afraid. And that includes being stressed, worried, anxious. And when you get that signal, what your brain actually does is it kicks in something called your sympathetic nervous system. Sorry, a bit of technical jargon. And it creates something we call a fight, flight, fear response. So we react to the danger. So the lion's coming, we run away, or we shout for help, or we stand and fight, whatever it is. But it's just a reaction. And this is created by our survival brain saying to us, you've got an immediate danger, you need to divert all your attention to get and do whatever it takes to get rid of this immediate threat. And it does that through a feeling of fear. So we've got the thinking brain, the feeling brain, the survival brain. And the fourth part of your brain is what I call your creative brain. And your creative brain is where all the magic happens, because your creative brain is the part of your brain that makes you the best that you can be. This is the part of your brain that's supposed to drive your life, because remember, your purpose is to be the best you can be, and your brain is designed to do that, to make sure you are. So in your creative brain, this is where all your creativity comes from. It's where your imagination comes from. But it's where you get good ideas and inspiration, and you go, I've suddenly thought of a better way to do that. Or you get a gut feeling and you say, that doesn't feel right to do that. Or it does feel right to do that. You get that little voice, that sort of hint of inspiration or an idea. So this is also where your motivation comes from. But your creative brain is the state when you're being the best that you can be. So the way you're supposed to live biologically is you're supposed to live with your creative brain managing your life, managing your body.
Okay.
So and you're feeling good. You're feeling loving, creative, imaginative, excited, passionate, grateful, all of these things. And you're getting great ideas. You're making really good decisions. The right sort of people are coming into your life. The right situations are coming into your life. And sometimes we call this being in the flow or being in the zone. This is your natural creative state. This is the way you're supposed to live all of the time. It's you being the best you can be biologically. But there's only one time you're not supposed to live like that. And when's that? That's when the lion comes running out at you from the forest. And what actually happens there is that part of your brain, the creative part of your brain, is shut down. Because when you activate through fear, this response, this, I call it the sympathetic nervous system, which creates the fight, flight, freeze response, your brain is saying, it's giving you the message, and it's got the message, you're faced with an immediate threat you need to get rid of immediately. So I'm going to make you feel afraid, worried, stressed, and you're going to activate this, and you're going to get rid of that fear. But in that state, there's a couple of big problems. It's absolutely perfect for what it's designed to do, which is to get rid of that lion or the danger. But what does it do? It blocks off every other part of your brain, every other part of your awareness, except the danger, because that's what it's designed to get rid of. Because you can imagine if you're walking along the forest and there's a lion coming at you, you don't want your brain taking any notice of how beautiful the flowers are or the wind through the trees or anything like that. Can't do that. So all of your attention, your brain's attention goes on to the negative dangers in your life, because it says you are faced with an immediate threat. It's also going to be looking around for what other dangers, what other problems, what other things are harmful for me right now, and it's going to get you to react. But the problem is, and all of this is activated by your brain when you feel fear, stress, worry, and anxiety. But the problem is, as I said, all of your creative brain is blocked off, because all of the energy from that part of your brain is diverted to helping you get rid of this immediate threat or danger. But what's the problem? 98% of people are trying to solve their problems and create their life in this state, in this very limited survival state, this fight, flight, freeze. So basically, they're feeling afraid, they're feeling stressed, worried, and anxious, and they're trying to sort their life out. But they're using the part of their brain that's not designed to do that, that can't do that. It can only react to things. The part of your brain that knows what you want, knows what your goals should be, and knows how to get them for you is your creative brain. And you're blocking all of that out when you feel fear, stress, worry, and anxiety. This is a chemical thing. This isn't anything to do with positive thinking or ideas. This is literally what happens to your brain on a physical level. So the answer is clear, isn't it? You're using the brain, you're using this machine the wrong way if you're trying to solve problems in a state of fear, worry, and anxiety, because all the solutions are in a part of your brain that you can't access, that's being blocked off. So what's the answer? Here's the 2 steps. Do everything you can to eliminate fear from your life. And people say, well, how do I do that? I can't. I've got all these problems. The world is in this terrible state. I can't, you're being totally unrealistic. And what do you mean get rid of fear? You have a choice. Are you going to switch off that thing that makes you feel bad on the television or on the computer? You can end that conversation with somebody that doesn't make you feel good. You can talk about a different topic that doesn't, if you're talking about one that doesn't make you feel good. You can get rid of that job that you hate, that isn't making you feel good. You can get rid of that relationship that you don't like, that for 30 years has been making you miserable. You can do all of that. You have a choice over that. And people say, well, I can't do any of that. But if you understood that your brain is a machine designed to make you the best that you can be, it will do it, guaranteed, if you let it do its job. Why would you be worried about getting rid of any of those things? Because it's a bit like the car. You wouldn't get into the car and go, oh, I'm really worried that it's not going to get there. I need to get out every 5 seconds and check that the engine's still running and look under the bonnet and check the tires and worry about the road. You just know this isn't how it works. It's designed to do the job for me. I don't have to get all stressed and worry about it. And it's exactly the same with your brain. Once you really understand, this is why I really teach people about how their brain works, because once you understand, it's as silly as saying, oh, I'm going to drive the car and I'm going to get out behind and I'm going to push the car and I'm going to make it go that way, and I'm going to be really motivated and determined and put in lots of energy and say lots of positive things to myself, and I'm going to pray really hard, and that will make it work. It won't make it work. That's not the way it works.
Okay.
And so this is the thing. Fear is the enemy. Fear is like putting in the wrong fuel. It's just going to make your machine not work properly. Funnily enough, a lot of people are Christians, and the Bible gives you an exact instruction on this. The Bible is the best manual on how to use your brain in a practical sense of virtually anything, because what does it say in the Bible more than 360 times? Be not afraid. It doesn't say try not to be as afraid, try not to worry. Everything it says be not afraid. And it's saying that because when you are afraid, unless there's a lion coming, of course you want to be afraid then. That's what it's there for. But when you are afraid, you're activating the wrong part of your brain. You're not able to utilize the resources that God, if you like, has given you to create your ideal life, which is what you're here for. You're not able to access those resources which are in your creative brain when you're afraid. So the instruction is, be not afraid. Give no thought for tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Do not worry about what you shall eat, drink, or wear. That's all going to be provided for you. When you understand this is how your brain works, you don't need to worry, because it's like you don't worry when you drive a car. You know it's going to work fine. Same with your brain. It comes from understanding. But the first thing you have to do when you understand that is say, I've got to really start controlling what I'm allowing into my life that's making me feel bad.
Yes. They were just talking about that recently. They were just talking about that recently. I was overhearing something on the radio, and they were saying that people need to monitor more what they watch on TV, what they're listening to on the radio. And I'm always conscious of watching what people speak over me. So you're absolutely correct. And I really love your explanation about the creative brain and being fear, because fear and living in fear is what keeps us captive, right, in our minds, and keeps us stagnant. So we're not living our best lives and being our best selves. So you are absolutely correct on that. I love that. And I know for myself, my creative brain, as you say, has exploded, over this last year. And yeah, it's been a difference. That's for sure. It's been a difference.
It's a purely biological function. This isn't a sort of a woo-woo fancy idea about conscious mind, subconscious mind, and all of those things. This is a purely biological function. If you accept that your brain is this enormously powerful machine, and it is designed to have, and you do have a biological purpose, which is to be the best that you can be so that you have the greatest chance for survival, just like every other living thing has the same thing. If you accept all of that, then you know that biologically your brain is designed to do that job for you. But when you activate fear on a purely biological level, it shuts down that part of your brain that's designed to do that. And another way of realizing this is to think, we talk about coincidence or luck. Some people, we say, well, they're really lucky all the time, or even for ourselves, well, what a coincidence, I met that person. Now I've got a new job that I wouldn't have had before. I've got a new business that I wouldn't have had before, or I've got a new partner I wouldn't have had before. And I don't know how it happened. It was just all seemed like luck. There's no such thing as luck in this world. There couldn't be, otherwise the world wouldn't function. From a low level of awareness, which is when you're stuck in your survival state, fear, stress, anxiety, it appears that those things are luck, that they're coincidence. But when you activate your creative brain, and what you actually see is you see the truth, and you realize this is, again, your brain at work, bringing you these things. This isn't luck or a coincidence. This is a biological function. Your brain, part of its job is to make sure that your circumstances are right for you to be the best that you can be, and that handles that. So this is all happening on a biological level. It's just exactly how it works.
Excellent. I love that. You have given a great explanation as to how this brain how the brain works. I love your explanation on the 4 parts and how you explain it and what it means and what it does. So if someone is interested in booking you, how do they do that? How do the people get in touch with you?
My website, liamnaden.com. Just my name, liamnaden.com.
Now, have you written a book about this yet?
I am in the middle of writing a book about this. I have a podcast called Using Your Brain for Success, which I go into a lot more detail about all this sort of thing as well. And people can find that on my website.
I was saying this would make a great book. Yes.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I've got another book. I also do marriage and relationship coaching, and I'm about to publish a book on that, which is all about if you want a successful relationship, you need to do the opposite of what you're doing, what everybody's doing. So that's coming out shortly.
Okay. I'd like to hear more of that. I'm in a new relationship. So yes, I'd like to hear more about that because I definitely wanted to be successful.
Yeah, 98% of people do the wrong thing in relationship. There's 4 fundamental things people do wrong. And if they did the opposite of them, all of their relationship problems would be solved. That's based on my 10 years of experience coaching people in relationships as well.
Okay, so you're going to have to come back and we're going to have to talk about the relationship thing.
Okay, that'd be great.
All right. Thank you so much for being on TME Podcast. Can you give us your website one more time?
liamnaden.com.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naden. It has been a pleasure having you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure for me too. Thanks, Rhonda.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for listening to and watching TME Podcast. We are streaming live to YouTube, and we will be on Facebook shortly. So thank you for